committee. We can move straight on to the agenda. Item number 1 is the evacuation procedure. We're not expecting any fire alarms to go off today, so if they do, we'll treat them for real. So we can go out through this door, down the front steps and meet across the road by the Yorkshire Bank. And if anybody needs any assistance, give us a shout, we'll make sure that happens. It's also a timely reminder to turn your phones off or put them onto silent, please. And just to advise people that, as is normal practice now with the council, all our meetings are filmed, recorded and put out on YouTube, usually within a couple of days of it being done. Item number 2 is apologies. I have had an apology from Councillor Lorraine Nash. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting on the 12th of March. Happy that I signed those?
Yes, Chair.
Yes,
Chair.
Item number 4 is to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary and other interest in accordance with the Members' Code of Conduct.
I need to add on to the declaration of interest that I am now a member of the Warwickshire Police and Crime Panel. Please.
Okay, we can add that on, please. Item number 5 is any declarations of contact, just where members, perhaps people have been in contact with members. No, okay. Item number 6 takes us on to applications where the public have indicated a desire to speak. For members' information, we do have a speaker on item number 1, Checker Street. So if I just run through that process, because I know you came sort of late on into it. The officer will present the report. Following on from that, we'll take any speakers that have indicated they want to speak. Under the Constitution, you have 3 minutes to speak. At the end of that 3 minutes, once the egg timer goes off, I will stop you from speaking. And normally I say it's so unfair to everybody else, but I don't think there's any other speakers tonight. After that, members may seek points of clarification. It can only be to clarify anything that's been said during those 3 minutes. Following on from that, the officer may want to come back with any other information. But then once something's moved and seconded, the committee will debate that application and hopefully reach a decision today. We normally make a decision on the day, but sometimes items are deferred for site visits or for more information and things like that. Okay? You're right with that, yeah. Have I missed anything? You're looking at me as I've missed something. Darren?
Yeah.
10 Checker Street, Bulkington.
Okay. This application is for outline planning permission for up to 9 apartments with all existing buildings to be demolished. All matters are to be reserved, although there are indicative plans, layout plans and an indicative parking layout. The site is at 10 Checker Street, Bulkington, and is currently used as a hand car wash, and prior to this as a petrol filling station. There have been 6 objections and from 5 addresses with a petition with 6 signatories. The key issues to assess in the determination of this application are residential amenity, highway safety, flooding, drainage and contamination. Whilst only an outlined application, there is an indicative plan that shows the building will have 3 stories and It's been shown that it will be compliant with the council's separation distances to avoid overlooking and overshadowing. However, there have been residents that have objected to the proposal on the grounds that the 3 stories would not reflect the character of the area. However, it should be noted that the street pattern for a large part of the district centre has 3-storey buildings. Noticed over here, there's 3 levels over here and down through here from the centre. Highway safety. Whilst the layout cannot be considered at present, as it's now like application, it has been demonstrated that vehicular access and adequate visibility and parking for at least 14 spaces can be accommodated within the site, including spaces for bicycles and bins. Consequently, the highways have no objections. Site layout here, access through here, and parking along here, up here, down the side here, with additional parking here, cycle parking over here. The proposal is located in flood zone 1, the least likely location to flood. And as it's not a major application, neither the Environment Agency nor the County Flood Risk Team wish to comment in relation to drainage. However, Severn Trent Water has requested that drainage details can be provided via a condition. This is considered appropriate. Due to the ground conditions and the previous uses of the site in terms of potential contamination, both the Environment Agency and the Council's Environmental Health Team have responded with no objection, subject to conditions for a site investigation to protect existing and future occupiers, the environment and controlled waters. It is therefore considered that with the use of conditions, the site is acceptable in terms of flooding, drainage and contamination. Overall, it is considered that the proposal is acceptable in principle and the recommendation to committee is for approval, subject to the conditions printed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ball.
Right, my name's Peter Ball. I'm landlord of the Checkers Inn, which is address is 12 Checker Street. The photograph that you've just shown of 3-storey buildings is not even on Checker Street, but by the by, there are some in Checker Street, but none beyond the public house. Every building around the area is a 1-storey bungalow, Villa Crescent, Villa Close. So it's totally out of keeping with the buildings in that area. The other problem is traffic. The traffic people may not have objected, but I have deliveries from articulated lorries come across the road as we have to get cars to move so those vehicles could actually manoeuvre in that street. I doubt whether a fire engine would be able to turn into that block of flats if there was any need to, because the morning that Louise phoned me, I walked along Checkers Street. There were 30 cars parked. One was across my driveway. They have no concern for broken curbs or entrances to buildings or flats. They just park wherever they like. And add in another possibly 18 cars, because most families these days have 2 cars. I know the national average is probably only 1.3, but in affluent areas it's nearer to 2. And they're not always going to go into the parking spaces behind the flats, because they're just going to collect something from the house, they can park on the street. So that's an extra 18 vehicles. The delivery lorries quite often circumnavigate the village 3 or 4 times a day, trying to find a parking space so they can offload. It's mayhem now. It's supposed to be a 2-way street. You cannot drive 2 cars down that street at any point of the day, even through the night. you can't get two cars past each other. And based on that, I can't for the life of me see why you have that many extra dwellings in the village, in the centre of the village.
Good. Are there any points of clarification? No, okay. Darren, anything at this point to come back on? No? Okay, right, so to enable debate to take place, can I move the recommendation which is to grant planning permission subject to a legal agreement and the conditions printed, and there's a slight, oh well it's a slight amendment to the recommendation on the addendum, which is to grant planning permission subject to the conditions printed. Any member? No? Councillor Smith?
Just really want to come back. I don't have a query with what our speaker said, but that area is a nightmare for parking. But just to challenge some of that, I think 14 spaces for this will actually be a benefit, because a lot of the parking around that road is actually caused by the car wash that's there at the moment. And although car parking is a major problem around there, I don't see this making it worse. I see this actually as a benefit, because 14 spaces for 9 single bedroom flats is actually quite generous these days. So I think what you might find is
debated that, but I can't prove that you couldn't get.
Sorry,
14
I'm sorry,
cars.
I can't.
Sorry.
But what you might find is that it's actually, I don't think it'll alleviate the parking problem, because as soon as we create parking spaces in Bulkerton, they're filled by somebody else. But I do feel that this is a good replacement for what's there at the moment. And in terms of the height, I see, if I'm right, that is restricted to 2.5 stories, because the third floor is going to be in the roof space, yeah?
Yeah.
So actually it won't look any taller, it won't look like a 3-storey building, it will look more like the height of the checkers.
That's correct. That's what the condition would be there for.
So that's a condition, so even if they come back with something different,
Yeah.
they'll be against that.
Condition 7 restricts the height to 9 metres, which is similar to a standard 2-storey house.
Yeah.
And to comply with distance standards to properties at the back, it's felt that rooms in the roof space would be acceptable rather than a standard 3-storey house, and that's why the condition is on.
Okay, good. And in terms of the car parking, that's an indicative site layout. There's no condition on that, so if they come back, they could change that when they come back for detailed planning, presumably.
They could, because it's not a matter to be resolved at this stage.
Okay, that's what I'll keep an eye on when they come back now.
Yeah, it's an old chestnut with this committee. What is an outline if you've got indicative plans? You know,
Yeah.
but that will come back. The detail will come back, but I think at the moment it's probably down for officer delegation.
Right.
At the moment,
Yeah.
I'd be very unhappy if they did less than 14 spaces, to be honest, because that is a bit of a nightmare on the road. And the speaker was perfectly correct. At times you can't, it's two-way and you can't get 2 cars down them.
Well, if that concerns there, you could always request that it come to committee
Yeah,
rather than it be dealt with under delegation.
yeah, okay.
But at the moment, that's how it is.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, was there anybody else indicated? No. I'll just make the point about the parking. It is a nightmare, and it affects all of us. And we've probably all got cars anyway, but pretty much every street in the borough now is seriously affected. And we all know the problem we've got is if the county don't make an objection to that type of thing, then we're a bit stymied on having a refusal based on those grounds. I was a bit surprised when I saw the amount of car parking proposed for it, and I hope they do keep that in the detail, because it is a fairly sustainable site. You know,
Yeah.
you're not far to the buses, and you've got the shops and the pubs and whatever. Anyway, it was moved, and can't remember who seconded it now.
I'll second it, Chair, if you wish.
Any other member? Okay, the recommendation is as printed on the addendum. All those in favour of that? It's unanimous, thank you. That's approved.
I'll leave them.
Yeah. Unless you're the
Thank you, Adam.
Okay, if we can move on to item number 2, please.
This application is for a two-storey extension to the front of 77 Cumberland Drive. The property is semi-detached and shared with number 75 and is located at the far end of a shared driveway which increases in height further along the access point. Along here, slight elevation going up here. There have been, as a result of previous two-storey front extension, the property has a cross-gable roof, which was originally a side open gable. At the end of the shared driveway, adjacent to number 128 Cumberland Drive, is a detached garage, also due to a previous permission. This is the extension to the front previously, with a detached garage over here. As you can see, this is the corner of the shared driveway over here. The key issues to assess in the determination of this application are residential amenity and visual amenity. The proposed extension is located on the far side of the property and will extend a further 4 metres to the front. Number 75 Cumberland Drive, 1 ground floor front facing window and 2 first floor front facing windows. Furthermore, an objection was received in relation to the extension causing the loss of light to number 75's front habitable room windows. However, following the appraisal, there was no breach of the 45-degree or 60-degree line, and it is considered that the extension would not cause overshadowing since the windows do not directly face number 75, and therefore will not cause any loss of privacy between the properties in accordance with the Council's residential design guide. This is the as it is now. This is the extension. Comes out 4 metres and has a blank elevation. Windows are over here and face over here to number 75 towards the Cumberland Drive. This would be the extension here, highlighted in blue. And as you can see, the windows over here would not directly face into number 75. And there's no breach of the 65 or 40-degree line over here. With regards to number 28 Cumberland Drive, it's considered that the proposed extension has no windows overlooking the rear amenity space of number 28, and therefore it will not be overlooked. With regards to being overshadowed, the existing detached garage to number 77 reduces any such impact as well. This point is further highlighted by the fact that the proposed extension will be located to the northwest of number 128, with most of the summer light coming from the south. Again, this is the boundary to number 128. This is the garage to number 77, which would obstruct any views, direct views to number 128. This is the garage again over here. With regards to properties down here from 87 to 95 Westbury Road. The property likely to be impacted would be 89 Westbury Road here. However, at the end of this garden, there's a large outbuilding, as can be seen over here, that would obstruct any direct views to the rear habitable rooms of number 89. Notwithstanding the distance between the rear wall of this property and the side wall of the proposed extension is roughly 27 metres apart, 13 metres beyond the minimal recommendation set out in the Council's Residential Design Guide. With regards to impact on visual amenity, objections were received regarding the front-facing blank wall being unattractive. This would usually be considered unacceptable if the property was located on the main road. However, it is not. The property is situated as far as possible from the highway in a corner position. Additionally, the existing detached garage adjacent to number 128 would serve to partially obstruct any significant views of the blank elevation. Furthermore, the proposed materials are to match the existing materials of the property, and this is considered acceptable in the Residential Design Guide, which states that external finishes and extensions should match originals. Going back to this picture. It is therefore recommended to committee that the application is for approval subject to conditions printed.
Okay, thanks, Alan. I just wanted to check, because there's a couple of people in the public gallery. You're not down to speak? No, I don't, you know. Just fun. Okay, in that case, can I, to enable debate to take place, move the recommendation, which is to grant planning permission subject to the conditions printed. Is that seconded? Any member? Councillor Sutton.
Can I just have some clarification? So on the picture where you showed the driveway and the garage, on page 33, there's a large lounge, which I assume is the extension that they're going to build. Looks like there's a window there, and yet you actually said there wasn't going to be a window. Isn't that not a window?
No.
Page 33. Not here. This bar is going to come out from the ears,
Yes, yeah.
and there's going to be a blank elevation. The windows will be on the inside here.
Right, okay, so I was looking at this and that looks like that was the front door and that was the side, so I was like confused.
Yeah,
Well, that is the side that would be facing
The
out
other
to
side,
do-
right, not
yeah.
in.
there's a
Okay.
window in that return,
Right,
not on
okay.
that sort of gate at the end.
Got it, thank you.
If I've got that right.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to ask, thank you.
Councillor Pomfrey.
I'm not really sure where any objections can come from on this application, because, as has been mentioned and as can be seen clearly in that photograph, it's right at the end of a very long road, tucked away in the corner. If this was in the middle of a row of houses, you might be having different thoughts about it, but this is right at the end. The Westbury Road houses have got quite long gardens. They're not in any way affected, and as already been mentioned, there is an outbuilding there. So, under other circumstances, perhaps there might be issues, but I can see no planning reasons for not approving this application. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Could you just go back to the slide before now? I just wanted a point of clarification, because it's not on. There's some. Where number 77 is, if I'm reading that right, in the garden, are there some buildings in the garden? Because they're not on the map in the agenda.
This is
No, behind 77. That one and the one behind it.
not as part of this application.
No, but I'm wondering, are they existing buildings on
Yeah.
the plot? Because I'm looking at that as one, and it does. I can see where Councillor Pomfret's coming from, but my instinct looking at that is it's starting to look rather over-intensive on the plot of land. If those are other buildings on that land, it's starting to feel a bit over-intensive. I can see why people would start to feel a bit enclosed. It's unfortunate. I agree with Councillor Pomfret. I don't feel that there are planning grounds, but I do feel uncomfortable. I think it's starting to tilt towards being rather over-intensive on one
The
end.
buildings are separated.
But it's still one plot of land, and also, is it being fair to the neighbouring residents that it is at the end of Cumberland, which is a long road to be fair, but if we were if it was just another row of houses, we would be looking at this differently, and I suspect number 75 will feel quite annoyed at that just because they happen to be right in the very corner, they're not being treated as another area would be. So it doesn't sit right with me, Chair, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to vote for it because there are no planning reasons, but it is starting to look rather over-intensive, and I wouldn't be very happy if I was number 75, if I'm honest.
Okay. Can I just ask, and it's in relation to 89 Westbury, they are a long way back, but you mentioned about that building at the bottom of their garden. I don't know whether that's a temporary building, a great big shed type thing, or it's okay. But even regardless of that, if that building wasn't there, if we imagine that wasn't there, the distances, would it all still meet our distance requirements?
It's 27 metres, so
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Any other member? No, it's been moved and seconded for a recommendation which is to grant planning permission subject to the conditions printed. All those in favour of that? Again, that's unanimous, thank you. That's approved. That finishes the applications for today, but fairly unusually first. We've got another item number 8, and it's a recommendation from the Audit and Standards Committee regarding this committee, and I'm possibly having vice chair. I believe it's seeking the views of this committee before it goes to Cabinet and Council.
To full council, before it's reported to full council. It has already been to the Audit and Standards Committee, and it has been approved there. Further views are being sought from planning and licensing, so planning today and licensing at the next committee, before it is reported to full council.
Okay, so in relation to, if we go right on to item number, page 39, I think between the introduction and what's on the back page and the recommendation by the officers is that the changes in Appendix A be approved, i.e. to have a vice chair on this committee. No, I'm sorry, that's not this. That's the report that went to Audit and Standards.
Chair, that is the one there. It is to approve the changes recommended by the Constitution Review Working Party.
All right, so it's
to
exactly
Article 8, and the amendment that will be made to Article 8 is actually printed on the that page, Appendix A.
Okay, I have my own views on it, but if I can move that recommendation.
I'll second that, Chair.
And it's seconded. Any member? No? All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. That concludes the business for today. Thank you very much for your attendance and declare the meeting closed.
Councillor?